So today's story takes place in a world where demons are viewed as beings of utter abomination and chaos who only bring destruction. And our main character, Alto Goldfield, will fail and be held back a year because he can't summon a familiar even to this day, and in Orca Academy, a familiar holds a significant position for their master to pass. So Alto comes from a commoner's family and worked hard to gain admission to the academy. So, in the library, a book about summoning falls on his head, and he takes it and follows the instructions in the book. Instead of summoning anything else, he summoned a demon. Her name is Vermil, but the situation she was in was too much for Alto to bear. Nonetheless, he made a deal with a demon and made her his familiar. However, Vermil requires mana to survive and must suck it from Alto via kiss. However, the issue was her clothes, so Alto first gave her sister's cloths that he accidentally brought with him to the academy and gave it to her to cover up a little. As a result, Vermil informs him that the reason Alto has been unable to summon a familiar is his mana. His mana is simply too strong and potent for normal familiar to bear, so no one approached him. But demons, like her, require that mana, so they're a perfect match. So, to disguise her demon appearance, Vermil hid her horns and tails to appear as a human. But it was unusual that after all this time, Alto summoned a familiar and a human on top of that, so the professor had a hard time believing it. But, Lilia was unable to see Vermil's affection for Alto, because the fact is that she has a serious crush on him. So, out of jealousy, Lilia challenges Alto to a duel in order to force Vermil to stay away from Alto. So the duel between with that begins. Lilia has a contract with the wind spirit and goes all out from the start. But Vermil took the direct hit that Lilia thought she had won immediately. But it didn't hurt her even a little bit, and so Vermil used some techniques to make her admit defeat. Seeing as Lilia is her childhood friend and Vermil is his familiar, Alto orders them to be friends from now on. The following day, someone lost his leash on his dragon, and it was causing a commotion in the academy. Vermil, on the other hand, sent it flying with a flick of her finger. So, in the evening, the master of that dragon familiar brought his pal Rex to make Vermil pay for what she did this familiar. They are members of the Dragon Rider group, and as the name implies, everyone has a dragon as a familiar. So Vermil gave Alto the mana she always sucks out of him, and Alto easily defeated them. Rex was in his senior year, and Alto aspired to be the kingdom's highest ranking mage. A mage is classified into 4 categories: God, Silver, Bronze, and Apprentice. But there is a special group that the king chose himself from among the most elite in the Gold, and Alto aspired to that rank. So the dean have contacted Lilia, Alto, and Charles because they needed to choose a student representative for Class 2. And as part of their trial, they must bring a unique flower from the forest. Charles is Marcus's assistant, as well as one of Alto's few friends, and he comes from a noble family. And so the trial begins with the 3 of them, but Marcus was more excited about it and became stuck, so Charles stayed behind to assist him. So, when they arrived at the location to obtain the flower, they discovered that a Cerberus was guarding it, but that dog was sick. So Lilia used an invisible potion to get around it, but only 2 of its heads were cold, so the third one smelled her. But before it hurt her, Alto jumped in to give Lilia a chance to get the flower because Alto knew that with Vermil on her side, Cerberus would be defeated. So Lilia wanted to give the flower to Alto because he deserved it, but her potion wore off and she hit herself, and the flower flew away to Cheryl's side. But the rising issue was the Dragon Rider Club and her leader, Chris. She was irritated that Rex got her ass kicked by a second year, so she ordered him to do chores if he wanted to rejoin the club. But, because Rex is not a pushover, he simply quit the club, but before he could do that, Chris did a number on him. Seeing this, Alto challenged her to make her pay for what she had done to Rex, and from the start of the duel, her strong attacks had an effect on Vermil, whereas Alto's attack had no effect on her. And so, just like before, Vermil gave Alto his mana again, and with it, Alto attacked with Crystal once again. But his real plan was to close the distance between them, giving Alto the upper hand and defeating her. After this defeat, Churs realized her mistake and apologized to Rex. But Chris was a gold-ranked mage at the academy and a member of the student council, so defeating her certainly drew their attention. Soon after that, Vermil kissed Alto again the next night, but he was shy about it because he believes she should only kiss people she likes. Anyway, Alto asked Professor Onsidian if love between humans and demons was possible, but according to him, demons only get closer to humans to suck out their mana. So Alto got serious and inquired about Vermil's motivation for remaining with him. And her response was a kiss, and this time she didn't even take mana from him. So to what Alto said before, kiss someone you truly love, was her response. However, Abizadane was a truly evil man who was also famous among ladies. So he called Emma, confessed his love for her, poor girl fell from him, and he injected her with something, and she was later discovered in this state and went into coma. After that, even Rex went berserk and started beating the crap out of Chris. So his friend went to Alto for assistance, but the student body president took care of it first. But Vermil, on the other hand, had noticed its magic and knew something about it, so the other day she seemed off and left alone for a walk, where she ran into Obsidian again. This guy knew Vermil was a demon, so when the opportunity arose, he injected her with the strange drug that caused her to run wild on campus. Alto noticed the change and ran to her side, only to discover that Obsidian desired to control the demon. But, in addition to him, student body president Elena noticed it, but she was stopped by a mysterious thing. Aside from that, Vermil wasn't going to let him do that. She broke the leash and wanted to kill him right away, but Alto intervened because he never wanted Vermil to become a murderer. Seeing that this Vermil was on the verge of losing control, Alto soothed her rage. That might have been his final moment, but Vermil healed Alto's severe wound, and seeing that Vermil regained her sanity even after that drug, so Obsidian injected himself to become a hideous demon. And this time Vermil couldn't care less about him, and with that punch, half of his body fell apart. So Obsidian attempted to flee, but Chris stopped him in the middle and prevented him from fleeing. Obsidian was apprehended, and Alto regained consciousness as his heart began to beat again. Alto believed that Vermil healed his heart and saved him, but the truth was different. Vermil actually shared her demon heart, and they now share the same fate. If Alto dies, Vermil dies, or Vermil dies, Alto dies. Alto was not pleased that Vermil had sacrificed her immortal life for him. However, the situation has changed and Alto now requires Vermil's mana to survive for a few years until his heart is adjusted. So she intended to leave right away, but this enraged Alto even more. He is too shy to express himself verbally, so he kissed Vermil and ran away. Vermil realized Alto also loves her, which makes her heart happy. So that brings us to the end of today's video. Stay tuned for the second half of the recap, and until then, subscribe to the channel for the most recent updates.